And at that Detroit event yesterday, Garrett, Trump took credit for the current success of the stock market. He's done that frequently, even though he has no control over it. No president does. Former President Obama hit back on the economic front last night. What did he say?
Yeah, Donald Trump loves to claim credit for the stock market when it's up, blames somebody else when it's down. He wants voters to be thinking about the 2019 economy that he had pre-COVID when they go into their voting booth. Barack Obama's argument was the credit for that belongs to the 2017 economy that he handed to Trump. Here's what the other former president, Barack Obama, had to say about that last night.
Reason some people think, wow, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good, because it was my economy. We had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did. I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time.
Anna, the polling has pretty consistently showed Donald Trump with a lead over Kamala Harris on handling of the economy, although that lead has shrank. There you see Barack Obama, arguably one of the vice president's most effective surrogates, trying to take the shine off the Trump economy handling question on the campaign trail in the most critical swing state.
Garrett Hake for us in Aurora, Colorado. Thank you. So, Jonathan, last night, former President Obama also made a direct appeal, it seemed, to men, specifically black men, to support Harris. Watch.
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. That seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. I'm speaking to men directly. Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for it.
A recent Howard University poll of black voters in swing states, broken down by age and gender, found roughly 1 in 5 black men under 50 supports Trump. Jonathan, why do you think that is?
You know, I am hard-pressed to say why that is. You know, I will tend to look at the fact that the overwhelming majority of black men support the vice president, you know, carrying on the tradition of voting overwhelmingly for Democrats. That being said, there's a reason why former President Obama said what he said at that campaign office. Keep in mind, those comments were not said from the rally stage. It was not said before a whole auditorium full of people. He was saying that to campaign workers at that campaign office, giving them the messaging, talking points, if you will, but also just the grounding and what they need to tell black voters and black male voters in particular about the stakes of this election. And to get them to see that, you know, voting for Trump is not a real alternative. Voting third party is not a real alternative. Sitting on the couch definitely is not an alternative, that they must come out and they should vote for Vice President Harris. And there's one key thing that was not in that soundbite, but the New York Times has the direct quote where he says, "Women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. When we get in trouble and the system isn't working for us, they're the ones out there marching and protesting." That quote jumped out at me because I think that, you know, what President Obama is articulating is a discomfort within the community, but also maybe even a simmering anger in the community that, you know, with an election this huge, that there are people who cannot see the stakes. And if anything, they need to be reminded, those black men need to be reminded that if something were to happen to them, their moms, their aunties, their grandmoms, the women in their lives will stand up for them, will take to the streets and have their backs. And to the president's point, isn't it time that they should have a black woman's back in an election this important?
Well, it does look like the Harris campaign is trying to target this group, at least this week. Today, Governor Walz will hold an event with black male voters in Michigan. Next week, Harris will sit down, we learned, with Charlemagne the God for a radio town hall. All this after her big media blitz this week. Is there more VP Harris could be doing to connect, Jonathan?
She just, with 25 days, 26 days left, Anna, she needs to just be out there hammering away at her message about improving the economy, all the things that will help all Americans, but specifically and in particular help African-American men. But there needs to be surrogates need to be fanning out across the country, not just the vice presidential nominee, not just the former president, but others fanning out across the country to black communities, talking specifically to black men about what a Harris-Walz administration would do for them. And I think that's what's happening.
Megan, we played that clip at the top of this block of Trump insulting Detroit in Detroit, likening it to a third world nation. Well, a few hours later, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro said this at a Harris rally.
So I got a message to Donald Trump. Stop talking America. Stop it. Cut it out. Cut it out. Right? Cut it out. Because hear me on this. This is the greatest country on earth. He better damn well start acting like it.
Megan, we're hearing this angle a lot from Harris and her surrogates, calling out Trump about his dark rhetoric. Do you worry that Trump's fear messaging could work for him?
Yeah, I think what this does is it rallies his base. I think it just is shoring up his base, but I don't think it's resonating with independent voters in these battleground states. Nobody likes to be insulted. Nobody likes the place that they live to be insulted. And one thing Obama said in his speech yesterday is, when did this behavior become okay? When is this style of leadership okay? And I think that's one message that the campaign is really driving, is the contrast in leadership styles. We don't want a president to go abroad and go to the G7 or the G20 and insult America. We want them being, America is the best place. This is why America is the best place and we are the leader in the world. And I think that that is really what the surrogates are really starting to drive home. But where it resonates with his base, it does not resonate with independent voters in these battleground states.
Sarah, I also want to highlight some harsh rhetoric Trump used discussing the economy. Watch.
Big companies, powerful companies that have become powerful because we were stupid. We were stupid. We allowed them to come in and raid and rape our country. That's what they did. Oh, he used the word rape. That's right. I used the word rape. They raped our country.
Sarah, what's he trying to signal to voters there?
Yeah, it's quite the verb to use in that message. And I don't know if I would have necessarily recommended that if I still worked for him. But I think that he's trying to signal that we're being taken advantage of. That's kind of been his message since 2016, that he's going to be the one who's going to fight for the little man and have our back. And that does seem to resonate with the base. And what I will say, though, is that I think talking to Republicans who can't understand how I identify as a Republican and saying that I'm going to be voting for Kamala Harris, they don't understand how I can back her, because they say, well, remember the Trump economy. But what I say to them is, hey, look, this is the guy who added $8 trillion to our deficit. And if he is in power again, he'll add another $7.5 trillion we saw from a recent estimate. And that's more than double what Harris's proposals would add. And on top of that, he wants to add these massive tariffs that would be a tax on middle class families. And so this isn't the person that I think we need to hand over the keys to our economy. He's not the guy who's going to make America great again. And also, he's not caring about people like you and me. He's all about himself. And so it's just a facade, in my opinion. And he is going to lean into that economic message because it is the top issue for voters. But I think when you actually break down what his policies are, they're not going to help middle class families. And so the Harris campaign needs to be out there, I think, stressing that issue.
Megan, there's the message and then there's the messenger. And former presidents Obama as well as former President Clinton are now scheduled to do more campaigning in the coming days. Voters under 30, though, never voted for either of these former Democratic presidents, right? How much pull do you think they could have for this election?
I think they can have a lot of pull. I mean, these surrogates are incredibly impactful to people. People look up to them, they follow them, and so I think that they have a lot of sway with independent voters, and surrogates do make a difference out there. So I do think having everyone out there talking about the Kamala Harris administration, I think is a great benefit for the Democratic Party.
Sarah, we talked about the gender gap, and you're part of this group of prominent Republican women, including Liz Cheney, who are out there backing Vice President Harris. Based on your conversations, I'm curious, has Trump made any inroads with female voters?
No, I think that the Trump campaign knows that he has a very serious problem with women, which is why we're seeing them double down on their strategy of targeting young men. It's why you're seeing him go out and do these podcasts with influencers like Theo Vaughn and Logan Paul. These names might not mean anything to you or the viewers at home, but these are influencers that a lot of young men watch. And so they're targeting these low propensity voters and trying to get them to turn out, because I think that's what it's going to come down to is, can the Harris campaign turn out women to show up at the polls, or can the Trump campaign convince these low propensity voters, particularly young men, to turn out and show up and vote for him? And so that's what their strategy is, and that they're hoping that they'll be able to gin up more support with that group.